Welcome to the Mind Body Podcast. I'm your host, Maria Angelova, and I'm here to challenge everything you have been told about aging and wellness. This podcast is for those who refuse to accept that growing old means growing unhealthy. Each week, I will bring you dynamic conversations with inspirational guests, sharing practical advice, insights, and motivation to live your life rebelliously as you age with grace and vitality. This is your time to embrace self-care, transformation, and an infectious spirit that says no to the conventional and yes to a vibrant, powerful life. Let's dive in and redefine what it means to live well. Hi, Rebels, and welcome to the Mind Body Podcast, your rebellious podcast with me, your host, Maria, where is it all about a strong body, calm mind, healing, and fully living. And our special guest today is Dr. Valorie Prahl, who is joining us from Iowa. Dr. Valorie is a certified nutritionist, author, and chiropractor. Hello, Dr. Valorie. How are you doing?
I'm good. Hello. How are you?
I am doing good. I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you. You have some exciting news to share with us, and we'll get to those. Dr. Valerie, let's give us an opportunity to get to know you. Give us 3 words that describe you and give us a little bit of a backstory behind each word.
Okay. Well, I was thinking about this because that was one of the things that you sent ahead of time. I would say, number one, I'm adventurous. That's because I love to travel. I love to travel the world, and I like to learn new things. I always am studying new things. I'm courageous, perhaps reckless or adventuresome.
Borderline.
Yeah, because I'm not afraid to travel by myself.
I love that.
Sometimes my husband travels with me, but often I travel by myself. And I've often left a practice and started a new one. So, you know, that's one thing. And then I'm loving. I love everybody, especially, my husband and my children and my grandchildren. But I'm very loving.
I love it. Do you know what's so interesting? There is so much repetition between the words of guests who don't know each other at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are so frequently words such as adventurous, curious, passionate come up. And I think that is so interesting I do believe in, like attracts like. I think it is fascinating how, if you ask my husband, he'll probably tell you I have a little bit of reckless in me too. I'm very adventurous, just like you. I decided that I'm going to travel. I started traveling by myself internationally right after high school. And I think there is nothing more fascinating than hopping on a plane and going to a new place to discover, right?
Yes,
I think to discover
absolutely.
new cultures, new people, new places. And I think very importantly, to discover another deeper part of you. I think travel is unique in that way and help us, um, what if I get lost? How am I going to react? How am I going to connect to different people? Culturally, how I'm going to connect to them? Like, what are the things that make me uncomfortable? We learn so much about ourselves through travel and adventure. So,
Yes,
um,
we do.
I love that. I love that. So, Dr. Valerie, you do quite a few things. You have a very diversified portfolio. You do
Yes.
chiropractic, you do nutrition, and you are an author. And you have a book with I have to tell you, based on my fascination with the body, very catchy title. And that is the short part of it is Body Messengers. Um, one thing I say is that our body speaks to us physically, is an expression of us physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So when we're off, there's a good cause for that. And frequently we're too rushed and too go to pause and investigate, well, what is my body trying to tell me? So based on all of the different things that you do as a physician, what is your thought on that?
Well, what is my thought on that? I think that all, everybody has a different expression. And if you don't express it outwardly, then it becomes your physical body. That's what I think happens. So that's a big part of what happens. If you're spiritually unhappy, then your whole body will just react in a very negative way. If you're not eating right, your body will react in a very negative way. And it just takes all of it to make a whole human being.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about, for some of our listeners who are like, what do you mean your body is going to react? There are certain things that I think as a society are normal. Oh, I'm just bloated, so I'm just going to pop a pill and I'm no longer going to be bloated, for example, right? What are some of the signs that your body is not happy? Like, what are some things to pay attention to from your perspective?
For example, if you have digestive trouble, you're working out too many things in your life. It has too much to do with what's going on. If you have heart trouble, your body is affecting how well you love. So if you can't love enough, then it shows up as heart problems. If you have lung problems, it's because you can't speak and express yourself, or your speech is not such that you give enough of yourself in your speech. So you end up with lung trouble. So it's really very interesting how that appears in the body.
Yeah. We started talking before the recording. I follow Louise Hay and Christian Bierland, who do a lot around the emotional implications in disease and how emotions impact us. And I recently read a book by Joe Dispenza,
Right.
who talks about how emotions impact our genetics makeup and why some people experience disease versus others don't. And it has to do with the emotions that we are attached to and unable to express. So it's really fascinating, because I will tell you, I kind of stumbled upon that. My practice started very much as like a workout type of routine. And then I would see how people movement patterns would change. And I would ask people, so what did you do differently? And usually they'll say nothing. But then as we started digging, we would find out that there is either a physical aspect of, okay, they were traveling and sat too long in an airplane or the car, but sometimes it would be the stress level in their life would change.
Yes.
And they would start experiencing particular emotion. And from a physical aspect, sometimes I would see tightness, I would see limited mobility, I would see their mobility patterns change, which got me to think like, what is this about? That's how I got down into the path of discovering and reading and searching. And I think it's absolutely fascinating how much the body speaks to us, right?
Yeah. Especially the genetics. That's the biggest thing, because if you change a little bit of how the genes express, that is it has such implications. It just really opens it up. You can you can change your diet, you can change your spirituality, you can change everything with what you change in the genetics. So
yeah,
and that's one thing that I do is I check genetics, and I add this proper nutrients, and then people really clear out with all of their different problems. So.
Interesting. What is in your experience, how do genetics get impacted by our state of being?
Mostly if people don't eat right, they really have don't eat right or don't exercise right. You can change the way genes express by how you think, how you move, and by what you choose to eat. So if you don't do those things, quote, right, then you're going to have symptoms. You're going to have symptoms all the way along. So you can change any of those factors, and it really can positively impact the genetic expression.
Can you repeat this for the sake of you guys pay attention to these? The three things that you mentioned again, because that is so key. I mean, it's so basic.
Yeah, it is. Key. So what you eat, how you think, and how you move are the biggest factors for your genetics and for your whole life.
You guys hear that? Woo! Powerful stuff right there. Make a mental note and check in with yourself, rebels. How are you doing? How is your nutrition? How is your movement? How is your thinking? Very powerful things that I would say, and I'd love to hear your opinion, Dr. Valorie, things that we're not really conditioned to think about. I mean, maybe nutrition, I would say, maybe movement is becoming more of a thing. The state of our mind and the state of our thinking, I think that's a new opportunity of something that is now gaining more attention.
It is a huge piece of all of it is how we think about our place in the world. That's the biggest part. And if we think about living ourselves as big as we can be, as big as we can be in our lives and as open as we can be, then we can change ourselves in a positive way. So I'm trying to think of how to say it in another way.
I think that's powerful though, because I will tell you, I just had a conversation with a client and we were talking about shrinking so that you can fit somebody else's expectation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we frequently as a society do that. We won't be our highest self, our biggest self, because what will people think? Um, how would society perceive it? What would my community say? And then we shrink, the saying, the quote of, don't be afraid to shine your own bright light. No, what is the quote? Don't allow others to dim your light.
Right.
I think that's kind of what you're talking about, right? Let your brightest light shine.
And we can't care about what other people think of us or other people or the society thinks of us. It's our choices, what we choose to do and choose to have happen. That's what's important. You can care about that, but if you make your choices depending on what other people think, you're not being authentic.
No, you're not being in alignment with yourself. And, that's what I describe. It could be often physically, like in your body, you could be misaligned, but you can also be misaligned emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And if there is any misalignment, your body is not at ease, which means your body is dealing with disease.
Diseased.
Yes, yes.
That's one of the things that we learned in chiropractic college years and years ago. Disease.
Yeah. Hey Rebels, I want to take a quick moment to share something super exciting with you. If you've been feeling stuck, disconnected, or just know there is more to life than what you're experiencing, I have something special for you. I have created a powerful 6-step video series called Unleash Your Potential, an introduction to the Angelova method. As a valued Mind-Body podcast listener, the series is my gift to you. In this series, I will guide you through the core elements of the Angelova method, a unique approach that integrates movement, mindset, and mastery to help you align your body, mind, and life. You will learn practical techniques to improve your alignment, boost your core strength, and connect deeply to your inner self. Whether you're looking to enhance your physical health, gain mental clarity, or simply live more fully, these videos are designed to get you started on the path to your most vibrant self. And the best part? It's completely free. So if you're ready to break through barriers and unleash your full potential, head over to mindbodyexpert.com and get started today. Let's take this journey together, because you, my rebel, deserve nothing less than the extraordinary. Dr. Valorie, what would you say if you were to give our listeners, our rebellious nation, a piece of advice? What would be your advice of something we can all do? I mean, I loved what you already say. Pay attention to what you eat, your movements, and your thinking. I think that's super key. What would be a piece of advice that you leave with us?
I would say expect miracles.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. We all need a team of people around us to support us and make a difference in our lives. Be they, your friends or your physicians or your yoga instructors or your dance instructors or your hairstylist. But in the end, you get to decide how you make a difference in your life. That's the biggest thing. So I used to be really kind of stressed, shut down, depressed, and now I live in the moment and I'm open to receiving. So that is a big thing. So expect miracles, and that's what will be given to you.
I love that. I'm actually going to make a note and put that right on my desk because I love that. Expect miracles. And how different would life be if we expect the best, right? And we
Yeah.
expect love and, serving and being purposeful and magic and miracles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Than it being in the sense of fear and doubt and worries and rushing. It's a very different way of living.
Yep. It certainly is. Yeah.
And what would you say I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what are the some things that you do for you in your personal like daily routine or self-care routine to keep your vibrations high, to keep seeing miracles, to choose you brought up a very key word, to choose to see miracles and to believe in miracles.
Well, I start my day with a meditation, and then I study French for about 20 minutes. My daughter lives in France, so I'm going to go and visit her and my grandchildren who live there. And so one day I will either be able to speak French or be able to hear French and understand what they mean. I eat good food. I take a walk several days a week. I snuggle with my husband before I go to sleep. And especially important are my mastermind groups. I have 2 different mastermind groups, and what they do, my friends from those groups really encourage me and they give me great advice. So.
And I think what you're talking about is the power of the tribe, which I'm huge about. The power of surrounding yourself with like-minded, elevated people who are there to support, celebrate, and give each other, through feedback. Yeah. I think that's so key because it's so easy to fall into the trap of being surrounded where people who are surrounded in fear and doubt and all those low vibrational vibes. And it's easy to get sucked back in, right? Because it's comfortable being there.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you just kind of just can't do anything when you're in that position. So yeah, it's better to have people you can talk to about it and just make sure that you are more open and you remain open as a person.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. So your book is Body Messengers. Who would you say that's a good book for?
I would say it's a good book for probably just about anybody. You have to, if you don't believe in astrology, you have to suspend your belief. But but it really just describes how people how they perceive and have different illnesses, and just by using the different astrological archetypes, then we can discover how to fix them or how to repair them. So I would say really it's just about for everybody, but I would say women probably more than men. But I've had men who read it and they are really happy. They say it's a really positive, uplifting book. So
let me take you back to something that you said. You mentioned the planetary archetypes. So tell us a little bit about that. What are the planetary archetypes? What are they based on when we were born and where we were born?
Well, an archetype is just a universal blueprint. It is a universal pattern personality attributes. And we've heard about the maiden and the crone and the dilettante and the networker and so many more. But the planetary archetypes, they're about the different astrological planetary aspects. For example, the sun is a fire sign representing self-expression and the moon is water sign, represents nurturing and reflecting. That's why I chose them for my book, because they're universal.
Okay. So there, when you look at them, you don't look at them at like in an individual level, like my archetype versus your archetype. Would they be different?
I would say we all have all 12 archetypes. We all have a little bit of each, but depending on which, there's a questionnaire in my book.
Okay. And that's what I was going after, that you answered based on what you did. Yes.
Depending on what kind of symptoms you have, then you can go to that particular archetype and you can figure out what you need to do to fix it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so if you guys are especially into astrology and knowing the body, that's kind of like the perfect mix of, sounds like to me, like that's the perfect book for you. So something to think about. Dr. Valorie, where can people, oh, wait, I almost forgot to ask you, what is your definition of rebellious?
Well, that reminds me of the Uranus archetype.
Okay, then.
Its influences, challenges the status quo and encourages individuals to accept their uniqueness, originality, and independence. This influence can manifest as a rebellious spirit, thirst for knowledge, or a willingness to question authority.
Ooh, you like nailed me down. I love it.
Yeah, that's the Uranus one. Now, I was having trouble with that Uranus one, and that's when I had my stroke. Boom.
Interesting. Isn't that interesting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating. It is fascinating. When yesterday I was talking to a client about some health issues she was having, and as we got deeper into the conversation, because it's easy to say, no, I don't have any of that, right? But when you start really reflecting and digging in, and you get to your core, to your inner core, and to really what's in the, emotions that you haven't felt in a long time, or experiences that you have suppressed, how over time they show up in your life.
Yes, they do show up in your life. Big time.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Valorie, where can people find you? Like your website, social media, if they want to connect with you?
Well, they can find me on Facebook. That's my Facebook is www.facebook.com, Val Prahl, and then my website, which is valprahl.com. So that's a good one. And they can email me at val@valprahl.com. So
great. And we're going to include that when we post the episode. So fantastic. Dr. Valorie, thank you so much for being with us here today. And thank you for sharing your knowledge, wealth of knowledge and insights, super interesting topics, especially to me, Rebels. I hope you're soaking this in. And like I said, paying attention to those 3 key things Dr. Val talked about. And please share this episode with anybody who you believe will benefit from the information. Dr. Val, thank you again for being here today. Rebels, we'll see you next time. Ask any questions that you have. And most importantly, do not forget to stay rebellious. See you next time. Thank you for joining us on the Mind Body Podcast, where we explore the power of living authentically and rebelliously. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow rebellious soul who would love to hear what we share as much as you do. Stay strong, stay calm, and most importantly, stay rebellious. Until next time, rebellious souls, keep living fully. Your journey is just beginning.